focus on these scenarios, although they can be used for other purposes, probably will be used for other purposes in the future. The prime object of research is to do something in the interest of climate change. And that's why we thought, well, the future is obviously uncertain, but let's try to span up that uncertainty range in two dimensions. And the one dimension is how big is the challenge society is facing with regard to mitigation on the one axis and adaptation on the other axis. Going out so far into the future, by design, we're looking at a wide range of uncertainty, structural uncertainty which you will try to face. So we're not trying to do something like the best guess or the most likely or whatever business as usual type of approach you might call. We're definitely exactly trying to span up the range as wide as possible in order to be able to look at the influence of how important actually all this uncertainty is. I'll say a few words later about how this links up to the climate change pathways which the big models are making. And of course, the idea of this architecture is that that's already written down what elements we discern in different steps of further fleshing out these scenarios for the two main user communities. Okay, so here's the word about the scenario logic, the big grey box. Everything's foggy into the future, you can't see a thing, so you don't know where you are, and we try to structure that by providing two axes, socio-economic challenges for mitigation and for adaptation, as I mentioned before. And then we thought, well, let's try and identify a limited number of areas in that grey box which we may be interested in looking at. If you look at the diagonal going from the bottom left to the top right, that's a pretty common set of scenarios whereby challenges in both dimensions are either low, medium, or high. That's been shown way before, but in order to make sure that we span this range of uncertainty, we're also putting an effort in trying to fill the off-diagonal ones. The SSP4, which has predominantly socio-economic challenges to adaptation, not so much to mitigation, and SSP5, the reverse. That, in all respects, also in terms of having a plausible story and thinking about governance, we had a discussion about it Monday, is proven to be not so easy actually to take. And then this is now becoming a little bit more complex, I'm sorry about that. If you have this 2x2 matrix on the socio-economic world, then you want to confront those different social worlds with different levels of climate change. And in order to do that, we map the 5 things for this matrix into a single row, onto the horizontal row, and then confronted that with the different levels of climate change. In order to get from a reference level of climate change, which belongs to a certain socio-economic world, then you can add more and more stringent climate policies that go down to lower levels of climate change, from the highest level to the lowest level, as you have seen in the graph before, which is calculated by these big climate models. So you're confronting different socio-economic worlds with different levels of climate change, and then see how that plays out. The scenarios have 3 main elements. One is storylines, further description of what such a future world might like, what is driving that, and what is make people act or think in a way, if you want. And once you have that, you have kind of a skeleton on which you can hang different further sets of assumptions which you need to make, because in the end, the idea is to address these questions through modeling exercises. If you want to do modeling exercises, you need a lot of quantifications of uncertain data again, and use the information from the storylines to infer inferences of these data to run your models. That's happening in the middle to run the integrated assessment models. Also other models, by the way, some IAP models can also take this kind of information. And in addition, we recognize that you also have to say something about, if possible, quantify other things which are typically not inside of this integrated assessment model, but which are important to guide the outcome of those models. And Mark will say more about his take on what would be nice or desirable in getting out in terms of governance indicators, other things that people should be sensitivities and stuff like that, which you may want to get a handle on to build all these things together, then make up new scenarios which will yield results to that. He's a bit ambitious here. The first two things, at least you have the first incarnations of that. And those are in this special issue. You can read a lot about that. It's not the end of the story, I mean, it's just the first step. We're sure that everything will be changed just in the future. But at least something is done and consolidated in the written papers now. For the third part, I think it's fair to say that Mark may have a different take on that, but that we're only just scratching the surface. And we're just setting the first steps to do that. That's why I said that's an ongoing activity which is coming somewhat later than the other steps. Okay, narratives. Narratives is another word for the story.